In this episode, Grey Worm is an up-and-coming gay black vampire in the red light district of New Orleans in the early 1900s. Is it any good? I'm going to tell you what I think. Hello, entertainment enthusiasts. This is Ray, and this is The Fandom Realm. It is time for another episode, and just as a reminder, I will only be doing podcasts for the foreseeable future, so if you can't watch, you can listen, and you can start looking on other podcast outlets as well. Also, if you do have any movies or series you would like for me to take a look at, leave that info in the comment section below. This is episode 13 of The Fandom Realm, and today I'm reviewing episodes 1 and 2 of the new series, Interview with the Vampire. The series is based on the book series by Anne Rice. You can find it on AMC. If you want to get a 7-day trial, you can even get the first couple episodes for free. Just to forewarn everyone, this series does have nudity, sexual situations, and LGBTQ content. Right now on Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score is at 98 and a 76 for the audience. So the basic concept of the movie Interview with the Vampire remains the same in the series. Louis is meeting with the reporter Daniel Malloy to tell him about his story and his history with the vampire Lestat. Lestat is being played by a relatively unknown Australian actor named Sam Reed, while Louis is being played by Jacob Anderson. All those Game of Thrones fans out there know that Jacob played Grey Worm. First, let's talk about the casting. I don't know much about Sam Reed, who plays the vampire Lestat. Of course, Lestat was portrayed by Tom Cruise in the movie. I think Reed so far does an okay job in this portrayal. The only thing I would grade him down on is I always felt Lestat needed to come off and look very menacing, and I'm not sure that Reed's portrayal has done that so far. I really like Jacob Anderson's portrayal of Louis. Of course, Louis was played by Brad Pitt in the movie. I enjoyed Jacob's portrayal of Grey Worm in Game of Thrones, but I never really thought he was able to show his acting skills, and he's definitely able to do that in Interview. I also like the strong but vulnerable side that he portrays on screen for Louis, and I also think both Sam and Jacob create very good chemistry for Lestat and Louis on the screen as well. That's something that they really need to make sure they get right in this series. One little curious piece of casting that I'm not going to go into a lot of is the child character of Claudia. In the movie, it was played by Kirsten Dunst. It is being played by another unknown to me actress, Bailey Bass, who I think is starring in several of the new Avatar movies. Claudia has not shown up in episode 1 or 2 yet. Story-wise, we haven't gotten too far yet. It has been sort of a slow rollout. We have seen Lestat turn Louis into a vampire, which was most of the first episode. The second episode was basically Lestat training Louis to be a vampire. One huge difference, I think, between the movie and the series is that they are diving headfirst into the physical relationship between Lestat and Louis, something that they heavily glossed over and basically didn't show any of in the 1994 movie. We haven't really gotten much background on Lestat as of yet, but for Louis, we do get introduced early to his family, which he does become estranged from. At one point, we're going to basically have to question whether or not he's going to kill his baby nephew. I'll let you watch and see what happens. One of the other major events for Louis is that he's going to see the death of his brother, who jumps off of the roof. I'm a little suspicious about what happened here, but we'll have to go back and see what happened later on. The story takes place in what they call the red light district of New Orleans, and Louis is shown to be a business owner and the man who runs the local underground. As a black man, he has privileges that others would not in that time period in the early 1900s. The modern day setting is actually during the COVID time period. I'm curious as to see how that is going to work into the story. Maybe the biggest reveal is during the modern time period, during the interview portion, we're going to see Louis reveal to the reporter Daniel Malloy, who had done the interview 50 years prior, but never did anything with it. He's going to reveal that basically vampires can feel each other's thoughts, and there's a group out there looking for world domination. As I remember it, that is very different from what we saw in the movie. One area where I do expect to see some criticism is basically for those people who are going to be a little upset that the movie is not subtle about talking about racial injustices. For me, I thought they pulled it all off without pushing too hard. I thought it was a very good balance. Everything starts off with Louis already having some social standing along with his family. The relationship with Lestat basically sees Lestat sort of push him to be better and to do more, although they were still stuck in the South. There's at least one scene, I don't remember the exact wording. Basically, Louis is going to call out Lestat for almost sounding like a slave master in what he was talking about. And it's sort of going to be a point in the episode that we start to see Lestat sort of pushing Louis more to do things, to come out and be more active in his area. So let's talk about a grade for Interview with a Vampire. First off, I really like the casting of Jacob Anderson, and I think he has a great chemistry with Sam Reed. Louis and Lestat need that type of chemistry. And at least in the first 2 episodes, Anderson has been very good. I also think they have done a good job adjusting the character of Louis based on his background being black and living in the area that he does. You know, this is something that you have to take into account when you do change, I think, a race of a character. You've got to talk about, or at least give some experience about how that changes that person. I'm also loving the costuming and design just of that time period. I really like going back and looking at the houses and clothes and cars and everything from that time period. What concerns me is that we're going to get basically a longer, more drawn-out version of the movie, or are they going to try to cover some new ground? I'm hopeful, because of whatever is going down with this group looking for world domination, that we're going to cover some new ground. I want us to expand this story. I don't want to get to the end of this series and think, wow, I should have just gone back and watched Interview with the Vampire 94. Also, the first 2 episodes, especially the first, have a very slow roll to them. I thought they did pretty well and accomplished enough to keep me interested. The series is something I'm definitely going to go back to. And with that, I'm going to give the first 2 episodes an enthusiastic C+. Now that does it for this review of Interview with the Vampire. If you like it, please subscribe, like, and comment below for me to keep doing reviews of this series. I'm going to see you all next time on the Fandom Realm.